Hi everyone, I hope this video finds you well. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit out of the ordinary, which is a response video / continuation of someone else's work. So I was watching videos on the internet, as one does, and I found a video from Johnny's Reloading Bench dealing with the dip. And for anybody who doesn't know what the dip is, it's a chemical treatment that's used to remove various metal deposits. In the firearms industry, it's generally used on suppressors and suppressors alone. A lot of times a suppressor might be a sealed device that you need to get down inside to be able to clean things out. And sometimes even user serviceable cans may require the dip to get very heavily deposited leads off. The problem with the dip is that the active agent in the dip is peracetic acid. And you make this by combining a 50-50 solution of acetic acid and hydrogen peroxide. And that generates peracetic acid, and then you basically put your suppressor into the bath and let it do its work. I prefer to use an ultrasonic cleaner along with it as well to help move things around so you don't have to do a lot of handling of the device, because the problem with peracetic acid and lead metal deposits is they form lead acetate. So lead is toxic. We know that, right? It's not good for you. But lead acetate, it's much more bioavailable than if you were to just take a bite off of a lead bar, which I do not suggest you do. Lead acetate will kill you a lot faster than lead metal. However, in his video, what he was chasing was a method to clean the lead out of that solution. So you've got lead acetate in solution, and his idea was to take zinc wire and quench it into the solution. And a lot of you may have heard me say this before, but I'm actually a classically educated chemist, and I worked as a chemist for years before I started doing this full time. Sometimes, depending on what species are in solution, you can transmute different ions to different positions. It all depends on their affinity for different things. We're not going to get super into the weeds on that. But basically, if you take zinc metal and expose it to lead acetate, the zinc and the lead will switch places, and you'll end up with lead metal and zinc acetate in solution. Now, if you haven't seen his video at this point, then I'll have it linked in the description box down below so you can go watch the full feature from him. And yeah, you should go watch that video because it's actually a really good video. But that said, where his project left off was that he was basically left with a big jar of junk, which were all the other contaminants that were in his suppressor. One of the other major contaminants that would be in your suppressor would be copper deposits. The thing about copper deposits is that they also are attacked by peracetic acid, leaving you with essentially copper acetate in solution. So he's got a big jar of copper acetate laying there, and while copper acetate is not nearly as toxic as lead acetate, it's still pretty bad. So we don't want to just have that stuff laying around, and he said that he was on a septic system, doesn't want to send that down a septic system, which I agree with. Particularly, copper compounds are really good at killing microbes, and depending on the concentration of copper, particularly copper ions, copper 2 ions, in the solution that is the slurry of your septic tank, may completely destroy the flora that lives there that breaks down your waste. So definitely something that you don't want to be sending down your toilet into your septic tank. So I said, hey, I was once a chemist. I'm going to go ahead and give a crack at it and see what we can do about removing that copper acetate from solution. But before we do that, we're going to take a break and pay the bills. So what did you major in school?
Guns.
If you haven't heard of SDI up to this point, I don't know where you've been, but SDI is an accredited online school that deals specifically in firearms-related educational disciplines. So if you want to be a gunsmith or something like that, then SDI is definitely somebody that should be on your radar. And they also offer all of the financial things that you would associate with every other type of university out there. You know, for those of us who don't have a pile of money laying around, which is basically everybody these days because of inflation. So if you would like more information, there's a link in the description box down below where you can learn more about SDI.edu, and make sure that you tell them that VSO sent you. Special thanks to SDI for making today's video possible. And to set this whole thing up, I basically had to replicate what he did. Only I had a few tweaks here or there to optimize the method. The first thing that I did was he diluted his cleaning pot up to volume with vinegar, and I used water instead because I didn't want a whole lot of extra acid laying around for cleanup later. The second thing that I did is when he did his lead cleanup, he used coils of zinc wire to effectively increase the surface area for reaction. And while that was really good, I think that would be hard to clean. So I went with the control rod quench method, and I basically took a whole bunch of strands that were relatively straight, coiled one end of them so they wouldn't come through, and just quenched them in there. This made them easier to clean and thus streamlined the process and allowed me to get more reps on the removal of the lead from the solution. The second change that I made was that I ran my cleaning at high temperature. And this accomplishes two things. One, it increases the rate of reaction for the whole cleanup with peracetic acid. Those reactions are going to run better when they're hot. And then the other thing that does is actually destroy a lot of the excess hydrogen peroxide that's hanging out in the solution. So not all of the hydrogen peroxide and acetic acid are going to convert to peracetic acid. There's going to be some of them hanging out there in space. And if you heat that reaction mix up, then you basically destroy the remainder of the peroxide that's just chilling in solution. So after several rounds of this and a few days of lead cleanup via this method, the reaction rates are slowing down, and I think we got the majority of the lead out of the solution. So what we have ended up with is the same situation that he was in at the end of his video, which is a solution pretty much devoid of lead acetate, but full of zinc acetate and full of copper acetate. And I thought of a couple different things that could work for us. The first one would be sodium hydroxide, which I just happen to have on hand. And the thing about sodium hydroxide is it really does a couple things for us. First, it's going to neutralize any of that excess acid that's just chilling out in solution. The other thing that it'll do is that most metal hydroxides are either insoluble or sparingly soluble, which is a good thing, which means that if we can get the metal hydroxides, that they'll fall out of solution. We're also working with metal acetates here, and the thing about metal acetates is that they're not nearly as strongly paired as metal hydroxides. So generally speaking, you can dump sodium hydroxide in there, and those compounds are going to take the hydroxide form and they're going to crash out of solution. The other solution to all of our problems is alcohol, and I don't mean it like that. Ethanol, ethyl alcohol, or the alcohol that humans drink, is useful in this situation because I mentioned that some of those hydroxides can be sparingly soluble in water. That means that there's a little bit left in solution. We're trying to knock all of it out. However, they are insoluble in ethanol. So my plan was to take the sodium hydroxide, convert those metal acetates into metal hydroxides, and then fill the sucker up with high-proof ethanol to crash it all out. And this turned out to be a terrible error. What we ended up with was a blue solution with a whole bunch of white crap falling out of it. What I expected to see was a bunch of blue crap and a bunch of white crap falling out with a clear solution. That would have been all the copper and all the zinc falling out and left over with water and whatever else was kind of floating in the suppressor water. Where my miscalculation occurred, I believe, and I don't have any experimental data to prove this, but I believe that my major miscalculation was that copper acetate is soluble in ethanol. Zinc acetate, zinc hydroxide, is not. And I believe what happened is it started to crash out, and therefore it drove the copper acetate into solution while simultaneously sucking up all of those hydroxide ions available to get itself out of solution. So what we ended up with was a whole mess of zinc hydroxide just crashing out. And I think that this is true because what I ended up doing was filtering off all of the junk that came out, and then I washed all that with ethanol because I know that clearly the ethanol is knocking it out of solution. And when the ethanol would drip down into the solution below, it would knock even more white crap out of solution. So since the ethanol is the problem, there is only one solution that was fitting in my mind. Yep, so I burned off as much of that alcohol as I possibly could, diluted it up a little bit further with some water, and put some more sodium hydroxide in it, and lo and behold, it crashed everything out of the solution. We ended up with just a slightly turbid, clear solution. So it absolutely did work. So even though we accomplished our goal and got all that stuff out of solution, I think this whole thing has been relatively inefficient. And let me explain. I don't think that lead zinc cleanup step is necessary. The reason why is because we have to neutralize that acid before we discharge it anyway. So we might as well use the same base, which is sodium hydroxide. And if you remember back to that whole thing about metal hydroxides being insoluble, that works for lead too. So it should crash out along with them. So what I went ahead and did is I made solutions of copper, lead, and zinc acetate via the peracetic acid method, put them in a bath to go ahead and destroy any of the extra peroxide. And the reason that that's important is I tried to do the copper one first and I forgot to destroy the peroxide, and in the process I ended up making copper oxide. Basically the way that works, I think, is that you've basically got a solution of copper acetate and then you dump the sodium hydroxide in there and you end up with hydroxide, free copper ions, and sodium acetate, and basically you've got an unstable free radical oxygen that's just hanging out, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, positive charges, wham! You end up with copper peroxide that then degrades to copper oxide. Yeah, destroy your peroxides. The zinc coming out of the solution doesn't really matter for this method that I'm proposing, because if you don't do the lead cleanup with the zinc, then you don't have to worry about the zinc being in solution. Shouldn't be there. But I want to show you guys that it does actually work. The copper came out of solution readily, as we expected it to. The only wild card is that somehow we made lead oxide, which I don't know the method for that. I can't imagine that there's still peroxide left in there, because I left those things in that hot water bath for like 6 hours. So all the peroxide should be gone. It shouldn't be operating through that other method, but whatever, same difference. We ended up with a solid compound that fell out of solution by itself that's not soluble in water. You can filter off all your solids and do what you will with it, and from there all you have to do is neutralize that base with some dilute acid of some kind, and you're off to the races. So the take home here is skip the time-intensive, labor-intensive zinc cleanup and buy yourself a cheap bottle of sodium hydroxide pellets, and you can use the dip, clean it up, make it safe, and move about your business. I hope that you guys learned something in today's video. I know that I learned a whole bunch today because I have never actually used this application before, and I may be more prone to use the dip in the future now that I have an established method, and of course all the materials to do it. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you sound off in the comment section down below. If you didn't, also say something about it, because, well, actually if you didn't like it, then you probably wouldn't want to help me out. But regardless, it does help out with the algorithm, and special thanks to everybody who made this video possible, including SDI and all our friends on Patreon and Subscribestar, whose names you can see on screen right now.